Hey friends, it's Kevin Dairaghi. Welcome to the Kevin Dairaghi Show. Before I get into our subject, we'll be talking a little bit about Julius Caesar and the Battle of Alesia. But before we get into that, I just want to say a special thanks to our vendors. So we got Lois Mans with Farmers Insurance. We have Greg Mans with Upright Construction, does our roofs. Jason Hudson with Red Maples Construction. So they do all of our flips, and Adam Draghi with CRS Property Management. Guys, these guys are my friends. They're the ones that I personally use on all the stuff that I do. But I want to say thanks to them and the support of you, the viewers and watchers and everybody doing this. I just found out over the weekend, our show, the Kevin Dairaghi Show, is now in the top 5% of podcast, and this is worldwide. So globally, our little show here is in the top 5% of all podcasts. So I want to thank them for helping us get there. And I want to thank you because it's the downloads, it's the views, it's the likes, the shares, and telling people about it that really has made this spread. When we started this, there's a way that we could pay for ads and push it and kind of do a paid way to kind of grow. We consciously have done this as an organic growth. So it's up to you to help tell your friends, your neighbors, coworkers, somebody you work with, and spread it. And that's how we are becoming and growing up that chain and changing lives. So guys, thank you so much for your support, and vendors, thank you guys for helping us spread this love and giving us enough support to be able to go out there and do it. So that said, let's take a look at our topic this week. So I'm a history guy, right? And there's so much you learn from history. One, about the facts and how it all fits, but also there's a lot of entrepreneur stuff. So I'm a big fan of looking at history and then pulling out some fun entrepreneur or life lessons out of these examples from history. So let's look at Julius Caesar. So we're talking, this is a younger Julius Caesar, right? So he actually didn't become kind of the dictator until he actually was much older. So we're talking Julius Caesar in his late 40s, so 48, just older than I am here. So we're talking about 52 BC. Give you a context there. So Caesar just becomes proconsul. So that means him and two other people are kind of like the rulers of Republic Rome. So this is before the empire starts, right? This is back when they were a republic. So here he is getting up to one of the top positions that there are. And then he also realized he needed to get out of Rome, right, to get a little bit more power and prestige. So he goes out, builds an army, and goes out and, subdues the Gauls, right? We call this the Gallic Wars, right? So this is Caesar fighting, and Gaul, just to kind of give you a rough estimate, is what we call France now. That's Gaul. So he starts this large campaign subduing Gaul, right? The Gallic people, and they call that the Gallic Wars. So in this case, Caesar is he's got his army, and his main opponent is, let me make sure I try to say this right, Vercingetorix. And the name literally means leader of warriors. So like, this isn't some punk kid, right? This is the men of men, right? This is the leader of warriors, and that's who his counterpart is, right? So they go through, and there's a series of battles and campaigns, and we end up at this place called Alesia. Alesia is like this hill town, right? So it's right around Austerlitz. So this is like the area between Germany and France. Actually, a lot of wars happen right through this area. But there's this little hill town of Alesia. So 52 BC. And what happens is Vercingetorix goes to this little area, and Caesar finds him, right? So he comes in and he makes a siege on this town. And so actually, he is actually outnumbered on the siege, but he go ahead and he starts building this wall around this town to make sure they don't get supplies or the army doesn't run away. So he is sieging this town. And that's going on, and there's fighting back and forth. And this isn't just a little wood wall, right? They build towers, and there's the whole way that they're designing this thing, right? But they're slowly going to choke this town out. But what eventually happens is the Gauls start forming another army to come and save their friends, right? So, just to give you a concept, I think the Caesar and his army has about maybe 60 to 75,000 troops there. They're besieging about maybe 80,000 people, so that's outnumbered. And this Gallic army coming to help their friends, I think is like another 100, maybe 200,000 troops coming in to save them. So, right, Caesar and his army is greatly outnumbered. But does he give up? He doesn't. So, what does he do? He doesn't want to give up the stranglehold he has on Vercingetorix. So, what he does is build another wall on the outside of his other wall. So, think about having a fence, right? A wood fence. And then you give yourself a little space and you build another fence on the other side, right? So both sides are defending. So now the attackers are now the defenders who are attacking another defender, right? So it's kind of just this crazy situation, right? So this goes on, and this battle lasts for like over a month. So think of 30 days fighting most of the day each day, right? This is a long, drawn out thing. So it eventually ends when some cavalry from Rome comes in and breaks up and destroys basically the outside army. They retreat, though they go away, and then the inside people surrender, and Caesar now becomes the victor and now has Vercingetorix as his captive. Right, he wins. He has the leader of warriors as his slave in a sense, right? As his he's the victor. And it's a crazy story, right? But let's open this up and kind of talk about it a little bit. So there's three things that I pulled out of it. First one is vision. In a lot of the things we do, vision, in some of our coaching, right, we use the word dreaming. We also use the word roadmap. So Caesar had this vision, he had this dream, he had this roadmap like, hey, if I'm going to conquer the people, I need to conquer this leader of warriors guy, right? This Vercingetorix. And he is in this position. So what is he going to do? He has a roadmap, he has a vision of taking him captive, right? So basically he knows where he is and he's not going to let go until he has this, right? That is his vision, right? That's his plan. Reminds me a lot, to switch this over into entrepreneur terms, this reminds me a lot of Stephen Jobs. So whether you watch the movie or any of the books or just kind of know of him, he was one of the founders of Apple. He was basically forced out. But when Apple started struggling, they basically brought Steve Jobs back in. And when he came back in, he realized there's two things he needs to do. One is kind of clean up some of the corporate structure. They started building and acting like they're a bunch of little mini companies. It's like, nope, we need one giant P&L. We need to know where we stand as a company. But more importantly, he really focused on customer service. We need to have the customer experience. We need to own that. And they had at this time a lot of good products. They had a lot of good things going. And he cut them and cut them and cut them and got rid of all the stuff. And they focused on the iMac. Then it was the iPod, the iPhone, and then the iPad. Because of this super focusing and reinvestment and getting rid of a lot of good things to focus on great and amazing things, they became one of the most valuable and one of the most successful companies, right? And this is Apple. All because of Stephen Jobs and his direction towards customer service, his dream, his focus, and determination of kind of going down into that space. A lot like Caesar recognizing Vercingetorix was the guy to go for, and then going out and tackling him where he was at, which in this case was Alesia. The second point I want to bring up is the massive action, right? To use the quote from Nike, just do it. Caesar knew where he was, and he went and just frickin' did it. He built an 11-mile wall around this hill town. 11 miles of wall, which is a lot, guys. And then when the other army came to attack him, he built a 14-mile wall around the other one. So that's how he had the two walls. So imagine having, 25 miles of wall think about how many trees you got to cut down and saw and nail, and just amazing, right? And these aren't just little petty walls. There's like towers and all sorts of stuff to it. Um, but that's what he did, right? He found out where he was, and he didn't want to let go. He didn't want to retreat. He didn't want to. He had his footing. He knew he was winning, and he did not want to give up. He took massive action. Basically, called in anybody he could to come and help their numbers, even though they were outnumbered. He still stood and fought and took massive action. This reminds me a lot of a guy, Cornelius Vanderbilt. So we think of the Biltmore Estate, which when I lived in North Carolina, it was literally right down the street. Awesome to visit. But Cornelius Vanderbilt is the one that kind of started that whole Vanderbilt line. And he was, talk about massive action. He actually had a lot of vision too, but he got a start in shipping. And actually it was later in his life as well, but his nickname was the Commodore because he owned so many boats. He owned all the shipping basically. And at the top of the game, when he owned all this stuff, he turned around and sold all of it because he saw that railroads were the next big thing. That's a huge, massive action, right? Imagine selling all of your portfolio, whatever it might be, knowing that there's the next big thing. And he jumped in and became the first railroad magnate, the first railroad tycoon, and kind of started probably the robber barons, that whole era of what he did. We're talking like, mid 1900s. And it was all later in his life. And his crowning jewel there would be the Grand Central Station over in New York. But massive action is acquiring and taking and doing all these things to basically get the railroad under control, right? He came over and took strong control, leaving the shipping world and then jumping over into the railroad world. And then the last section here, so we have the vision, right? We have the massive action. And the third one here is showing up. Another word we could say is being present. So during this, I mean, think of a month-long siege. That means there's a lot of battles. There's a lot of wars. When the hotspots were coming. So imagine the people who are surrounded are attacking the wall. The people who are outside are coming in and attacking the wall. And they're in this little section, right? People on both sides trying to kill you. Wherever the hotspots were, wherever there was a need, Caesar was there himself. Julius Caesar in his purple cloak, showing that he was the man, right? He is a proconsul of Rome, which is a big freaking deal. He was in all the hot spots, fighting hand to hand, like leading his troops in all the like hardest places. He was there. He was showing up, and he's like, "Hey, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die here with my men." And kind of self-promotion if you want, but like he knew that he needed to be present if his men were going to stay and fight. So that's what he did. He was present. He showed up and he fought alongside his men. That's why they became fiercely loyal. They became such strong supporters because he was one of them. Actually, he was more than just one of them. That he was this guy who was always in the thick of the fight, and that they would follow through thick and thin. And later, we'll find out that his army there was so loyal that they helped him become the dictator, the leader of all of Rome. Right. So all that happened because he was present, especially during this War of Alesia. Take that, and that, if I think about being present, I think of the former CEO of Costco, a guy named Jim Singal. So he made it his point, and this guy owns or runs Costco, right? All those big warehouse stores, all the shipping, all the things that Costco does. He made it his goal to visit every store every time of year. So figure there's over 200 stores or something like that. No, it's more than that. I think it works out to like 200 travel days or something like that out of the year. But he would go and visit every store at least once a year because of the hands-on leadership, just like Caesar. He was hands-on in there, getting firsthand information, right? Making sure that people understood he was there. He cares, right? He was showing up for his people. Did he have to? Absolutely not. But that was a goal of his. He was showing up, right? He was present. He was getting hands-on information. He was getting ground level feedback, and he knew where his stores were, and his leadership team, his workers, all those people knew who he was and that he came in and that he cares. Like, that's pretty awesome. You don't see that a lot for some of those larger companies like that. So talking about boosting morale, feedback, and actually I just read right before I did this, at age 89, he is still visiting stores, not because he has to, but because he wants to. He still wants to be active and have that super focus. And imagine doing that still at 89, almost 90 years old, even though he doesn't have to. He goes out and visit some of his stores. So being present, gosh, this reminds me of so much. In kindergarten, I remember our kids had to read this book. I don't remember what it's called, but I'm assuming it's like Bucket Filler or something like that. But it's something I think we've gotten away from. But this idea, think about how to support somebody, right? One of your friends. They talk about being a bucket filler. So what does this mean? It means like if I have a bucket, right, a cup, think of it as, if I want to fill a bucket, I put stuff in it, good things. So in this case, like say I wanted to, say you wanted to fill my bucket. Well, Kevin, you have great hair. Boop. Congratulations on top 5% podcast. Boop. Hey, congratulations on whatever it is, right? You're filling the bucket, right? And it fills up your bucket. So I feel good. I feel really nice. Now, the other thing is when I say something bad, like, hey, you have a lot of white hairs. Boop. You're right. You take one of the marbles out of my bucket, right? Oh, what about this? Or what about this? What about all these negative things, right? You're emptying the bucket. And what do? You feel worse. And in our world, sometimes we forget these simple practices still apply. We have words, and our words could build people up or they could take them down. Our leaders, our politicians, our business leaders, our family, our friends, we have the same positive and negative stuff. And now I'm going to make this personal, and I don't know if I really want to, but I feel like I've shared it at a recent mastermind, and it was kind of powerful. And I actually just spoke at a conference, and I know it's hard for me, but this is also where I think you get to see the authenticity or the vulnerability of where it is I'm coming from. So if I look at this Caesar stuff, right, Alesia, and having this vision and action and showing up, I think the best way is sometimes to show out the areas where I fail. And I know when my kids are small, so if you don't know, I have 3 boys. Now they're getting older. But when they were young, I think I only had 1 or 2 at the time. And I was starting a company, right? I was starting to build my company. I was having good days. I was having bad days, just trying to get it all working. I left corporate America and I was trying to do this. And the kids to me were it was a time suck. And hopefully you guys understand, don't judge me too poorly, but it was like, oh, I have to go do this. I have to babysit my kids. Truth be known here, like you don't call it babysitting when it's your own kids, but I had the wrong mental attitude towards it. And it was actually through my coach, Chuck, and actually the friends around me that I was like, oh my gosh, he taught me these, we talk about the blueprint for success. It's in one of the first 5 episodes there. But it was like, hey, these are the ways of becoming successful, right? Whatever it is you want, you apply these things. And I started looking at my group of friends, and they were all these great dads, super dads. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm not a great dad. And I started looking at them, and I started making little healthy habits, right, to becoming a better dad. And maybe this is my ex-engineering showing up, but it was like, okay, I'm going to make sure that I hug my kids every morning, every night, and tell them I love them. Right? This became just a checkbox activity. Hey, did you do it? Did you not do it? Did you do it? Did you not do it? And what's funny is now I do it so much that it's no longer a checkbox activity, but it becomes such a natural thing. Like my kids, now they're in high school, leaving, hey, love you when you come, love you when you leave. Like I love my kids. And it gave me a way that I could start kind of expressing that. But it wasn't because I was always amazing at it. It was something I had to work at, right? I had a vision. I wanted to be a better dad. And then I took massive action. I had to figure out the ways that I could love my kids, and each one need a little separate version of it. But I had to be cognitive of this process. And fun fact there, like I use the words love so much, like, one, it was with my kids, my wife, and then it was extended family, which we always said. But then it was like my friends and my coworkers. And, at first when you tell another man, hey man, I love you, the first thing is like, hey, like easy, buddy. But now it's like common vernacular, and it's all the spheres now. It's okay to say like, hey man, I love you. And it's okay. And you know what? One of the feedback, actually, Ryan Wessels, who was also on this show, he was like, Kevin, anywhere else, that wouldn't work. But for you, I know you do. And thank you. It's just one of those like, hey, it's okay to use these words and let people know you care about them. And I guess that's kind of how Julius Caesar showed up. I don't think he ever told people he loved them, but showing up, fighting in his freaking purple cloak, saying, hey, like I am the top of the game here, and I'm here in the muck with you killing Gauls. Okay, maybe that's their version of love. But then the last part here about showing up, you got to show up on the good days and the bad days. And this is recent. This is the part where it gets a little harder for me. But I think I've maybe lost my cool with my kids maybe twice that I could think of. And that's pretty good. That's pretty good for all these years and interactions. But I am currently scaling up, becoming the CEO of my business, and we have a lot of things going on here in the Dairaghi household. And I was frustrated. I'm stressed, right? There's a lot going on, and I snap at one of my kids. And I said stuff that just isn't me. And I justified it. Well, I'm trying to challenge him, and I'm trying to make him stand up. And I justified it to myself. And I let it sit for a couple days. And my wife, give Cami some credit here. She helped me talk through it. Like, hey, what you said was harmful. Like it, and I was like, oh, well, I had all my justifications. And she's like, I'm just telling you, like, he's figuring all this out, and actually he's doing a really good job, and you made him feel about this big. And that's why I go back to that bucket filler. I just took all the buckets of all the years that I've been pouring into it. I just dumped it all out really quick with just some bad decision, right? It wasn't me. It was me acting out of stress and frustration. So it was that night. I'm like, Alex, like, I'm sorry. Like, what I said wasn't right. It's not really what I believe. And we go through it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the reason why I said some of this stuff is you're 18. You're about to go away. You have the ability to go to college if that's what you want. I'm about to lose my kid. And really, it was just one of those like, oh my gosh, here I am going through my own fight, of starting a company, and how I'm looking at scaling and, being a CEO of things. And what is really behind it is this kid I've invested so much life into is about to be a grown up and go off on his own. And I'm out of the picture. And I was scared. And the way I acted like it was I lashed out, right? I emptied the marbles of his bucket so I could feel bigger. And did I? No, now I feel super small. But it also, by being able to put words to it, it's able to something that we could fix. And I've told him, and we've actually now had many talks about it afterwards. But now, instead of me being resentful of whatever college he goes off to or whatever he decides to do, I want to be on his team. I want to be his supporter. In this case, he's his own warrior, right? He's out there fighting, and I want to be there to support him. He's got to fight his own fights, but I want to make sure that he still feels open and honest with me, that I could support him in any of his activities that he goes out and does, not where he just goes and asks other people. I want to be on his team. And I realized that I'm always interested in my journey or how I could support my students or my clients or anything like that. But it's like, oh my gosh, here's a kid that really is, I just didn't want to lose my kid. And so sometimes you do it the wrong way, right? In this case, I emptied the buckets, but now I'm learning how to fill it back up. And I could be honest with them, like, dude, I make mistakes. That was a mistake. I don't feel that way. In fact, I'm immensely proud of you and what you're doing. And I want to just be on your team. So hopefully, through some of this conversation, you could look at something you're dealing with, right? Whether it's something with your kid, a family member, right? It could be a parent, it could be a sister, brother, whatever it is, somebody in your family or friends. And it's okay. You might find out that you've messed up. You might have emptied some of their bucket. But I do want you to make sure that you show up, right? Go out there. If you have to say you're sorry, say you're sorry. If you have to go and prove it, if you have to show up and be present, take massive action and make sure that those connections are still there. Guys, I thank you for the time that you spend with us. Thank you for your likes and shares. If you have not gone back and worked on your own vision or your own roadmap, go back and watch those first 5 episodes. That's a lot of what our coaching roadmap looks like. I think we have it. If you go to like kevindairaghi.com or the linktree, I might pop it up here. Right, Jake, you could pop it in wherever you need to. But I have a little link tree. We're running a special now. If you want to go through my 12-point course, it helps you identify where you are, where you're going, and then also the steps that you got to go through. We're running a special on it. Jake made a promo code, Are You Crazy, Kevin? Which is funny, the letter R, U, and crazy, Kevin. So thanks, Jake. So guys, you could go on there. You could get all that information. I think it's $50. We just want to help transform your life. Find out some of the steps. Go there, check it out, run through the program. If I could be of service to you in anything, guys, please reach out. Just know that you need to show up and be present with all that you do. Thanks, guys. Love you much. Talk soon.